Hello everybody, welcome to this instruction video. In this video I'd like to show you how to make part 4 of Ubuntu. Ubuntu is the Scheepjes Crochet Along 2018 that's been designed by Deirdre Uys from Look at What I Made. In part 4 of Ubuntu we'll be making these triangles to half a diamond. And I'll take you through the rounds that make up this part, these 8 rounds. I have the large kit that I'm using, so I'm using Scheepjes Stone Washed XL and River Washed XL yarn to make my blanket. If you have one of the other kits, you'll of course have different yarn. I'm using the XL yarn together with a 5mm hook. If you have a different yarn, you'll need a different hook. In essence, you need the same hook size as you used last week. I'll take you through the 8 rounds that make up this diamond. I'll show you how to make one, or diamond, half a diamond, how to make one, but you need to make 6 of these, so identical triangles that you need to make. I'll make one with you and then you can make 5 more. I hope it's a useful video for you and thank you for watching. Round 1. With the main color, I'm going to make a magic loop. So I want to cross them underneath and over. There we go. Start with a chain 5. This counts as a triple treble. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This chain 5 is a triple treble. Then a double treble, that's twice over. Everything is in the ring. Double treble, and then 2 trebles also in the ring. And 2. Chain 1. This chain 1 is your corner or the point of the triangle. Then 2 trebles. So now we're going to do the same in reverse order. That's 2 trebles, a double treble, and a triple treble. The triple treble is 3 times yarn over, and then taking off 2 loops 4 times. And there we go. I can tighten the loop, so I'm just going to grab my yarn tail and just close that loop. There you go. And now you can see if I just turn it right way around, and that's the point of the triangle. You can see the small triangle that you've now made. The pattern now says to make a slip stitch in between the last 2 stitches that we worked, so that's in there, in that gap, and then turn. But however, it's easier if we first turn and then do that slip stitch. So I'm just going to turn my work, so now I have the back facing, and then in between these 2 stitches, in there, just grab your yarn and work a slip stitch. There you go. So I have the back facing, you've turned, and now we're ready for round 2. Round 2. Now have the wrong side facing. You're looking to the back of your work. I'm going to start with the chain 5 where we have still in that slip stitch with the between the stitches, and also with our first few stitches we're going to also be making in this gap. Chain 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. This chain 5 counts as a triple treble. In this gap, so between the stitches, going to make a double treble and 2 trebles. Twice over. And that's a double treble, and then work 2 more trebles also in that gap. So this is really between the stitches. Going to skip the next stitch. Now keep in mind that we've just turned our work, and I'd just like to take a moment to just show you which stitches are which. If you look at the front of your work and how stitches are made up, my camera just focuses again, there we go. this is a stitch, and then it has its top, its hat. And you first have the hat, and then you have the post of the stitch. That's how the stitch is made up. If you look at this one here in the middle, that is the post of the stitch, and then that there, that's the stitch itself, that's the hat. But if you turn your work the way we've done now, it's exactly the other way around. See, here's the post of the stitch, but now the hat is before, is there. Whereas if it was the other way around, it was to the back. You see first the hat and then the post. And if you look at this direction, it's first the post and then the hat. And that's something to keep in mind if you're talking about which stitches to skip. You see, okay, that stitch there, and that one, belongs to the first stitch and does not belong to the second stitch here, the way it does when you have your work the other way around. So that's a very important thing to realize when you're constantly turning your work, which stitch is which. That's the question. But this first there, that first stitch, we're now going to skip, and we're going to work in the second stitch, and that's that one there. We're going to make a treble, chain one, and a treble in there. So, skipping this first stitch and that one, skipping that. It's also kind of being covered here by all these stitches you've made, so it's quite easy to skip that stitch. And then go to the second, and there we're going to work a treble, chain one, and a treble. You have one stitch left, that's that one there. You see there's one stitch there before we get to the chain one space. Now we're going to skip that last stitch. In the chain one space work a new corner. That's going to be a treble, chain one, and a treble in the same space. Now this chain one is our new corner, and I'm just going to hook a stitch marker up in there just to remind me that it's my corner. Now you don't have to if you don't want to. I'm just going to do this for my own reference. So that there is my chain one space for the corner. Then I can't accidentally mistake, for example, that space or that space for my corner. I'm going to continue on the next edge. We're going to do the same here as we've done there. We're going to skip the first stitch. So that's going to be, if you look here, that is your first stitch. I'm going to skip that there and then go to the second stitch. See where it's at? Work a treble, chain one, and a treble in the same space. And then these chain ones either side, we're going to work a popcorn in the next round. You have two stitches left. You've got there, that's the proper stitch. You've got that one left, and we've got this chain 5 here from the beginning. Between these two stitches, we're now going to work our next stitches. So it's the same as we've done on that side. We're going to do here now also. So that means this stitch, but then go to this space here between there and work 2 trebles. 1, 2 trebles, followed by a double treble, and then of course a triple treble. So that's 3 times yarn over, and 1, 2, 3, I just need more yarn, 4 times take off, oh dear, take off 2 loops, do that one again, 4 times take off 2 loops. Now again we need to work that slip stitch between the last 2 stitches worked, so I've got my finger in here in that space. It's easier if we first turn our work and then grab that yarn and work a slip stitch. Then around 3, which we're going to work now, we're going to be working with 2 colors and we'll be making popcorns. Round 3, we're going to start in the same way. Chain 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, which counts as a triple treble. in this space again, we're going to work a double treble, just twice over, and 2 trebles, and 2. Now on the first 4 stitches, going to work a treble, and then we're going to work a popcorn. So you see those 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches there, and especially this first one, you'll notice that these last 2 stitches you made, they kind of tend to fall over it, so be sure that you really get that first stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, and now stitch number 4, we're going to change colors. You're going to need contrast color 1. So just check your kits with exactly what is contrast color 1. For me it's this orange color. If you have one of the other 2 kits, it'll be a different color. So just check the pattern, what is your contrast 1. We're going to work the treble and then finish the treble with orange, so that we have a orange work in yarn and make the popcorn with the orange color. Now the last stitch, that's the stitch here before the chain space. In there, I'm going to start with the treble, so you're going to work the treble as normal until now. You've now got the last 2 loops on your hook. The yarn over you're going to do with the orange yarn, so leave a bit of a thread that you can work in, then yarn over with that orange and pull through. Now you have orange yarn on your hook, and we're going to make the popcorn with that. If you want, you can just pull that yarn tail a bit, and also pull this one here to just get that stitch into shape there. In the chain 1 space, we're going to work a popcorn. So that's 5 trebles using the orange yarn, and I'm going to work over my main color. So I'm going to keep this yarn below here and work over it. Yarn over for the first treble. So I'm working in that chain 1 space, and I'm covering my main color. And then that is the first treble. And we're going to work 5, of course. So this is 2, 3, still working over my main color, 4, and here is 5. Now to finish 5, we're going to go back to our main color. I'm just going to pop that stitch marker forward, back to your main color, and do the yarn over with that. Now you have your main color back on your hook. Open up, come back to the first stitch. Now that's easy to see exactly which stitch that is, and pull through. That completes the popcorn. At this point you can cut your yarn, you can cut the orange yarn, you can cut the contrast color one. So I'm just going to cut that yarn. And what you can do, what I actually do a lot in these situations, just if you pull these 2 orange yarns, you'll see that your popcorn, that helps to put your popcorn just a bit into shape as well. And I'm going to just put a knot in these 2 threads. I'm not sure if that's very professional, but it is very practical. And then nothing's going to happen to these 2 threads. I do actually work them in just one forward and one back, just to and then I cut my yarn, because this knot really helps to prevent things from coming undone there. To continue, chain 2, 1, 2. We're going to skip these 2 stitches. You have 2 stitches left, and then you're here at the chain 1 corner space. Skip those 2 stitches, and in the corner space work a new corner. It's going to be a treble, chain 1, and another treble. I'm going to move my stitch marker to the new position, to the new corner. There you go. If you have not put a stitch marker in, I would encourage you to do so now, because you're going to leave the stitch marker here until we need it in round 6. We're going to come back to this stitch in round 6 and then work in there. And then it's easier if you have a stitch marker in there so you can find this stitch. So put a marker in that you can find it easier in round 6. On this side we're now going to do the same as we've done on that side. So chain 2, and on that second chain we're again going to change the orange yarn that we can make another orange popcorn. So it's chain 1, and now comes the second chain. Let me just find my yarn. Here it is. And on that second chain to change the orange yarn. Now, this time we're going to do just a little different. We're not going to work over our main color, so I'm going to keep that to the top, that I don't accidentally work over it. And now in the chain space, there it is, and there in that chain space work a popcorn. So we're going to skip those first 2 stitches. In that chain 1 space work a popcorn with the orange yarn, and do not work over your main color. So that there is 1. We can work 5 trebles, 2, 3, 4, and now in number 5 we're going to change back again. So this is the first part of treble 5, and now I'm going to grab my main color that's here to the top. So I'm just going to grab that there, and then yarn over and pull through. Open up this loop and then come back to that first stitch. Now because you've had chain stitches before the popcorn, they kind of tend to fall into one another, but you see here, that's the first stitch. Go back into that first stitch, pick up the loop and pull through. Again, can cut your contrast color, so I'm just going to cut that yarn again. And me being just a little bit lazy and practical, I'm going to put a knot in here as well. And 2. And there we go. That completes your second popcorn. On these next 4 stitches, I'm going to work a treble. And that first one is that one there. 1, 2, 3, and there's 4. 4 is just before the big gap again. And in that gap, so between these last 2 stitches where my finger is in, work 2 trebles, 1 and 2, a double treble and a triple treble. Oh dear, I'm going to do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4 times, yarn over. Turn your work and work the slip stitch between these last 2 stitches that you've worked. Now we're ready for round 4. I'm just going to work away these yarn tails, just work them in a little bit because that'll just make things a bit easier, and then we're ready for round 4. Row 4, I'm going to start with a chain 5. This is again a triple treble. Twice over for a double treble in the same space, and 2 trebles. And 2. I'm going to work 7 trebles that will bring us here to the popcorn. Now that first stitch, there's the first stitch. Again, be sure to get into that stitch properly. It's the first of 7. That's 1. And this is 2. 3, 4, 5, going on 6, and the last one is 7. 7 trebles. Now going to work a back post treble around the popcorn. And if you look at the popcorn, you're going to come from this side, so next to the popcorn there, that gap, and then out the other side, like so. So we're going to work a treble like this. That will be a back post treble relative to around the popcorn. That way we're going to pinch the popcorn even more. Yarn over, so around the one side, come out the other. Look at it from the top. Grab the treble, your yarn to complete the treble. So you've got you're framing that popcorn. Continue with a chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Chain 8. I'm going to skip everything here in the middle and go immediately to the next popcorn, where we're going to work another back post treble. So it's yarn over. Well, let me just show you where it is first. So around this side of the popcorn, and then the other side, so it's between the stitch and the popcorn in there. That's where you want to make the back post treble. And then just yarn over, and in between, in the chain 2 gap, that's easy, and then here between the stitch and the popcorn, come out the other side, grab your yarn, bring everything to where you are, and then complete the treble. That was a back post treble around the popcorn. Your next 7 stitches is going to work a treble. So there's the next one there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then number 7 is the stitch here just before that chain space. There's number 7. If you've only got 6 here, you most likely missed that first stitch there. So be sure to get into that first stitch. In the chain space here, 2 trebles, a double treble, followed by a triple treble. We're again going to turn our work and make a slip stitch in the space here between these last 2 stitches, in that space there. But with that slip stitch we're going to change to contrast color 3. So check what contrast color 3 is in your kit. For me it's this green color, so just check the written pattern what exactly your color is if you have a different kit to me. And then with the slip stitch change to color 3. Your main color, you can cut your yarn now. We'll come back to the main color later on. Then round 5 we're going to work with the green yarn. Round 5. So we're going to work with the green yarn here. Start with the chain 4. This is slightly different, so take note. Chain 4, 3, 4. This chain 4 counts as a double treble. In this space, work a treble, and 2 half trebles, and 2. Just take my yarn tails out of the way here. We'll work them in at the end. We'll work all these yarn tails in neatly. You have the right side of your work facing, just to double check that we're on the same side. In the first stitch, work a half treble. See there, that's the first stitch. Work a half treble, and that's going to be the first of 10. And that will bring you here to the stitch before the front post. So these stitches we're going to work, that'll give you 10 half trebles. 2, 3, 4, and 10. There you go. 10 half trebles. What we're going to do is we're going to skip the next stitch. That's this front post stitch. We're going to skip that stitch, and then here in the chain 2 space next to the popcorn we're going to work a triple treble bobble. I'm going to move this marker forward. We're going to leave the chain 8 space here. We're going to leave that to the back and work in this space. Now, a triple treble bobble, that means a 3 times yarn over. Hold on to everything, then go into that space. Be sure that you have the chain 8 here to the back. We'll work in this later. And then 1, 2, 3 times, take off 2 loops, stop, got 2 loops on your hook, then again 1, 2, 3 times yarn over in that same space, grab a loop, and then 1, 2, 3 times, take off 2 loops, again 3 times yarn over in that same space, grab a loop, and then 1, 2, 3 times yarn over, or taking off 2 loops I should say. You've now got 4 loops on your hook. Take them all off in one go. That is your triple treble bobble. If you look to the back, you see you've got this chain 8 space unworked. I'm going to do a chain 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Skip everything. So you've got the corner space here, and we're going to go to this chain 2 space that's before the bobble, or the popcorn I should say, and we're going to work another triple treble bobble in here, the same as on that side, and still leave our chain 8 space unworked. So we're going to do the same thing. So 1, 2, 3 times yarn over, then come to this chain 2 space, skipping the corner there, and then work, take off 2 loops, take off 2, take off 2, then stop, 3 times yarn over, and 1, 2, 3, and again 3 times yarn over. You see I'm folding my work to the back, that I really make sure to miss that chain 8 there. 1, 2, 3. You've got 4 loops on your hook, take them all off. We're going to come here on this straight edge. We're going to skip the first stitch. That's the treble here, the front post treble. We're going to skip that and then go to the second stitch. There's that one there. Work a half treble. See how we're skipping that first stitch there, and then work in the second with a half treble. This is again the first of 10. So it's 1, 2, 3, 10 half trebles. In the chain space here we're going to do the same as on the other side, or actually between the stitch and the last stitch, so between these last two stitches. So half treble, I'm going to work 2 half trebles actually, a treble and a double treble. There you go. Again, turn your work, and we're going to work a slip stitch again between the last 2 stitches worked, but going to change to contrast color 2 as we do so. So just check in your kit what exactly is contrast color 2 and use this slip stitch to change color. There you go. Got the green yarn that we've been using up to now for this round, you can cut that, and then the next round we'll continue with this. For me it's a bit of an orange pinky color. Round 6, you have the wrong side of your work facing. Let's start with a chain 4. 2, 3, 4. This counts as a double treble. Then in that same space between those last 2 stitches, work a treble followed by 2 half trebles and 2 half trebles. Now on the next 13 stitches, that's actually going to bring you here, going to work a front post treble. So, and that means around stitches like this. Going to work a front post treble on each of those. So yarn over, grab your yarn and then complete the treble as normal. So 1, 2. What you're doing is on the other side is you're going to make a nice edge with these stitches that are being rolled forward. This is 4. If you now quickly look from the other side, you see here how your stitches are rolling forward, and that gives a really nice edge. This was 4, yes, so 5. I'm going to work until we have 13. And this is number 13. There you go. So you've got 13 front post trebles. On the other side you've got, just flop your work, you see you've got that nice edge going there. Continue with a chain 2. 1, 2. And your next stitch here is the bobble we made. I'm going to skip that. I'm going to work in the chain 4 space, or no, actually this was chain 8. I'm going to work in this chain 8 space, but I'm going to pull it forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that through my chain 10 space. I've got this chain 10 space to the front, and then I've got this loop here to the back, and now work a double crochet in that chain 8. I've got the chain 10 here to the front. Move your double crochet right to the start of that chain 8. What we're now going to do is we're going to work, if I just turn my work forward, I'm going to work in this space that we marked in there. I'm going to work a series of double trebles with chain 1s in between. And whilst we do that, these 2 loops, this chain 8 and chain 10, we want those to be in front of our, well, if you look from this side, to be in front. That you're going to work in there, but leave these unworked. That's what we're going to be doing. So in that marked stitch there. So a double treble it is, so that means twice over. Then into that stitch, in that marked stitch, and you see I've got these loops here to the back or to the front, just depends on how you look at it, and leave them unworked. Chain 1. We're going to do, we want 5 of these double trebles with a chain 1 in between. I'm just going to remove the stitch marker because I don't need it anymore, because I now know exactly where that stitch is. So I've already got one in there. I'm going to make a few more. So twice over. Then that is 2 and 3 and this is 4. Yes, so I've got chain 1 and then the last one is 5. So I've got 5 trebles, double trebles, yes, double trebles with a chain 1 in between. So 4 chain 1s and 5 double trebles. Now you need to come back to the chain 8, that's the one that's in your main color. Pull this one up, so make sure that chain 10 here is to the back and this chain 8 is to the front, and then work a double crochet in there again. And now pull this chain through the stitch so that the double crochet really moves to the edge. So you've got these 2 double crochets now on either side. If you look from the front, you can see you've made this scallop here. You've got a double crochet on either side, and they're in your chain 8. That's the main color chain. And your chain 10 here, this is completely unworked. You haven't done anything in there. So that's what your work looks like right now from the back. I'm going to do chain 2. And then we're going to skip the double treble, I believe. Well, this group, we're going to skip that and then go to the next stitch, and that's this stitch here, and that's actually the first half treble that you worked here. You're going to work a front post treble around that. So yarn over and then work a front post treble. So 13, and that will bring you to the edge, where we're going to work the corner edge again. Those corner stitches. 3, and this is 4, and this is 13. So I've got 13 front post trebles, again giving a nice edge on the other side. In this space here, the gap you've got between those last 2 stitches, work 2 trebles, actually 2 half trebles, I should say, 2 half trebles, then work a treble, and then work a double treble. There you go. I'm going to turn my work, so now I've got the front facing, and then work a slip stitch again, and we're going to change colors in the slip stitch to the main color. So get your main color, and then with a slip stitch change to your main color, which we're going to use in the next round. The contrast color that you used in this round, you can cut that, and then we continue with the grey in my case. Round 7, I have the right side of my work facing, and we're going to chain 4. 3, 4. This counts as a double treble. In that space between the last 2 stitches, work a treble and 2 half trebles. And 2. On the next 16 stitches, now that's all those stitches will bring you right up to here, up to the chain space, going to work a half treble. So there's the first one. 1, 2, 3, continue until you have 16, 4, and 16 is on that last stitch. And there you go, 16 half trebles. Going to work a front post treble around this bobble stitch we made, so that flower leaf there, around that stitch, around the top, we're going to make a front post treble. So I'm going to yarn over, and you can just kind of scoop this stitch and then pinch it together. There you go. Chain 3. And now we're going to work to the back. So you've got here this shell, going to work to the back of that. You've got both your chain 8 and chain 10 loops. We're going to pinch both of them together, going to work over both of them with a double treble. So twice over, in that, over both of those, work a double treble. Chain 3, and work another double treble over both of these. 1, 2, 3. If you now look at your work, you can see how it's nicely to the back there. Chain 3, one more chain 3. And now we're going to come to the other side and work a front post treble around this this treble bobble here, the same as we did over that side, or this was a double treble bobble. I don't know, I forgot. Yarn over and work a front post treble around that, pinching it together. There we go. Going to come back up, and on these stitches here work a half treble on each, and we're going to start with the first one. So that's that stitch there. This is the first one. So you're going to skip the chain 2 space here and work that half treble. This one, and this is 2, and continue until you have 16. That will bring you to the edge of the square again, or the square, it's a triangle. So I'll bring it to the point of the triangle. 15, and the last one here is 16. In the space between the last 2 stitches, I'm going to work 2 half trebles, followed by a treble and a double treble. There we go. We rotate our work. Going to work a slip stitch between those last 2 stitches and change to contrast color 4. So I'm going to use this color with this slip stitch to change to this lovely purple pink color. And anyway, in my kit, in your kit you may have a different color. Going to cut my main color. We'll use it again later on. And then I'll do row 8, the last row of this part in the purple. For round 8, so the last round of part 1, we have the wrong side of our work facing. We're going to start with a chain 4. This is of course a double treble. Now we work a treble in the space between those 2 stitches. There you go. Now stop, because you do not need to work anything else in that space. On the next 19 stitches, going to work a half treble. That is of course the first stitch. It's the first of 19, which will bring you to the top side, the top point of the triangle. This is 3, 4, 18, and the last one here is number 19, and that's on that last half treble there, 19. The next stitch here is the front post treble, and that front post stitch. I'm going to skip that stitch to make a chain 1. And what we're now going to do is, if you just look at your work, fold this this framework here just forward. To the back here you'll see the shell, and we're going to be working in that shell, in the chain 1 spaces that are between the double trebles. So in that first chain 1 space we're going to make a actually a triple treble bobble. It's going to be 3 times yarn over, and then folding your frame here forward, that corner, work in the chain 1 space there, going to work a triple treble bobble. Again, 3 times yarn over, in that space, take off 3 loops, 3 loops on your hook, 1 more, 1, 2, 3, 4 loops on your hook, take them all off. Chain 4, and now we're going to do the same. We're going to work another set of triple treble bobbles in there, but what we're going to do is we're going to work, yes, in that chain 1 space and in that chain 1 space, we're going to work a triple treble bobble on both of those, but we're also going to work through this chain space here. So we're going to connect these two together. So through this space and that space we're going to work the triple treble bobble. And I just happen to see a knot coming up in my yarn. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to tidy up this knot. So just a moment, and then I can continue. It's going to 3 times yarn over, then insert through this center chain 3 and the next chain 1. Grab both of them together and 1, 2, 3. Another time, 3 times yarn over, 1, 2, 3, and 3 times yarn over, and 1. You see that knot there? I just take with me and make sure it's here. Now that's to the front of my work, so from the other side, which is the front, you won't see it. 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and take them off. Chain 4, and I'm just going to move this chain 3 a little bit to the side that I can just see it better, because now we're going to work another triple treble bobble through the chain 3 here and that next chain 1 space there. So it's 3 times yarn over, then through the chain 3 and the chain 1. It's 1 and 2 and 3. 4 loops on your hook and take them all off. Chain 4, 2, 3, 4, and now we're going to work another triple treble bobble through the last chain 1 space there of the shell, that last one there, and this time we're going to leave the chain 3 here to the back again, so only through that space there. So 3 times yarn over, only through the chain 1, so make sure your chain 3 here is folded away. It's 1, this is 2, and the last leg here is 3. 4 loops on your hook, take them all off. Chain 1. This is what your work looks like at the moment. There you go. You can see you've got these two on either side, you've got them left open, and the center one here you've caught that with those 2 petals. Going to skip the next front post treble here, that's this one, and skip that stitch and then go to the next with a half treble. Skipping that stitch, go to the first stitch, and this is the one that you've actually worked in there, that first stitch. This is the first of 19. It's 2, this is 3, 18 and 19. There we go. 19 half trebles. You're now at the space between the last 2 stitches again. This is where you're at the moment. In that space work a treble and a double treble. There you go. Now you can cut this yarn and open up. Work away this yarn tail, but before you do so, just take a moment to mark the space between your last 2 stitches. So between that double treble and the treble, just put a stitch marker in there, because we're going to use that space later on. I'll tell you when you can take this marker out. This is what your work looks like at the moment. You've got quite a few yarn tails here. I do suggest that you work away these yarn tails now so that you can just continue next week. You don't have to, but I do advise you to. You've made one of these triangles. You need to make 5 more. You're going to have 6 of them in total. So I've got a whole series of them here. I've got a few more. So you need to make 6 of them, 6 identical ones. Oh, that's from the back. So 6 identical triangles with the color placement as given in the pattern. So you need to make 6 of those. And when you've worked away your yarn tails, this is what your triangle looks like. You'll notice that the edge here is a little wavy. Don't worry about this. When it's in the blanket, you won't even notice that this edge is just a little wavy. So don't worry about that. Remember to mark that 1 stitch. We'll get back to that stitch later on. So you've done 1 of them with you. Go and do 5 more. Work away your yarn tails, and then you're ready for round 5 next time.